Welcome to the fourth session of week number 8 of our course Marketing Management 2. Yesterday, towards the end of the session, I was talking about service quality. I introduced to you the 5 dimensions of service quality: tangibility, empathy, assurance, response, and reliability. I am going to discuss those issues a little bit more in detail as I promised yesterday. However, right in the beginning I would like to introduce to you another concept which is quite associated with service quality, which is service productivity. And in marketing of services, we have to always understand the balance between service quality and service productivity. So, quality focuses on the benefits created for the customer. Service quality has close correlation with customer satisfaction with the service. But the productivity addresses the service providing organization's concerns regarding financial costs and profitability. So, obviously for productivity, service productivity, we want to keep the costs down to improve the profits and have more maneuverability, more room to manage the pricing, because I introduced to you the concept of variable pricing yesterday. So, when we have low demand, then one of the things in marketing of services we do is to play with the prices, provide additional discounts to stimulate demand. But to be able to provide that sort of deep discount or attractive promotional offers, we have to keep our costs down, because then only we have the flexibility to deal with variable pricing. So, productivity is therefore essential to increase profitability so that we can have more flexibility with respect to pricing. And also, if we are able to save money, if we are able to save what we in Japanese call muda or waste, that could be waste of time, that could be waste of effort, both of which will ultimately translate into waste of money. So, if we can save wastage, if we can reduce wastage, if we can reduce infructuous or non-essential costs or unnecessary costs by improving the process flow, then we can use that savings to improve the customer service or maybe create supplementary services which always create the customer delight. Some additional cream on normal bread and butter. But remember, as I mentioned, service productivity or efforts for service productivity sometimes may affect consumers' experience and thereby affect service quality. Let me give you an example. In a restaurant, we normally measure productivity by our turnover or billing per seat hour. That means every seat, just like earlier if you remember I discussed about every shelf in a retail, here every seat in a restaurant is our working asset, and the number of people who will be using that seat, meaning number of billings that we can do. So, more people are occupying that seat per hour, more opportunity for revenue generation, which means that we need to speed up our service, and ideal examples are fast food restaurants or the idli dosa Udupi South Indian restaurants. You see there people come in, they are served hot idlis, hot dosas quite quickly, people eat and they do not linger on and then they depart, another person comes and occupies that seat. If throughout South India, the famous Udupi restaurants often will have people standing behind you because they are waiting to take your seat. So, the seat is not vacant even for a couple of minutes. A person goes, the table is cleaned quickly and the new person starts utilizing that table chair set for the next set of service operation. Now, this process, this high velocity throughput may be quite acceptable in an Udupi restaurant, in a breakfast joint, in a fast food restaurant, but if you have a fine dining restaurant where people come to spend time, quality time with each other, there if you actually hustle people, that will be detrimental to your service quality, that will affect the customer experience. So, what I am trying to say is, what you will do to improve your service productivity is not one set of recommendation. Understanding your service, where you are playing, what is your positioning, will tell you that how and which are the areas where you can improve the process flow, save costs. I will discuss this a little bit more when I come to that particular point. So, I will go back to where I was yesterday, and I promised that I will expand on these. So, tangibles are basically appearance of physical elements. So, in a restaurant, the tables, chairs, the air conditioning, the cleanliness, the good clean toilet, the behavior of or rather not behavior, but the dress, clean uniform of the people who are serving, those are tangibles. The music, the smell of fresh coffee being brewed, those are all tangibles. Reliability is dependable and accurate performance. So, if you are going for a medical treatment, or then this dependability and accurate performance, that is what we call reliability. If you have gone to a restaurant and you get prompt helpful service, that is responsiveness. If you are actually gone for legal counseling, then competence, courtesy, credibility, security, these are all assurances. This will equally apply to say a medical treatment, this will equally apply to maybe different kinds of knowledge service like education. So, that is assurance, where you are assured that what you are getting is top of the line, is value for money. So, you see there are subtle differences among these, and as I was like when tangible, I was using the example of restaurant. Of course, in a hospital, you know, the clean environment, good reception, quick attendance, toilets, other facilities are also tangibles. So, tangibles apply to certain types of services and they become very important, whereas in some other kind of services, for example, education, the competence, courtesy, credibility, security, the assurance will be more important than maybe tangibility. So, or empathy, easy access, good communication, understanding of customer, these are empathy. In a restaurant, in a hotel, in a medical service, these are very important. However, you expect empathy from the nurse. You may have a doctor who is highly competent, and but the doctor is so overworked, the doctor may be short tempered, the doctor may not have enough time to chit chat with you, you may feel a lack of empathy. But as long as you are assured of the competency, credibility, or you know that what you will get from the doctor when the dental treatment is given, it is dependable and accurate. So, assurance and reliability will take a higher precedence in that particular case. So, in case of high credence services, you know, remember the continuum of services from easy to understand or easy to evaluate to difficult to evaluate, that spectrum, that we continuum that we studied earlier. There actually more you move towards the credence side, what becomes more important are assurance and reliability. Of course, what happens is that if you remember, in credence services, it is difficult to assess the quality of the service even after consumption. It takes time to understand whether the operation was successful or whether you had good education in a particular institute. Now, certain types of high credence services, say for example management consultancy, because of this credence, because of this difficult to understand, evaluate nature of that service, what the management consultants or legal top lawyers they do, they provide lot of tangibles as a surrogate of quality signal. So their chambers will be plush, they will be projecting the, you know, there may be lot of certificates of the partners displayed. So in an accounting, chartered accountancy, an organization firm, or in management consultancy organization, there will be lot of display of tangibles to depict the or give signals for competency or credibility. So, sometimes these factors work for another factor as a surrogate where it is. So, anyway, therefore, in most services we look for all of these. The degree of our want or our requirement or the hierarchy of our preferences among these 5 factors vary service to service. So, how customers evaluate the online businesses. So, this is actually for physical businesses. So, physical businesses, these are the 5 factors, but as I told you, this model was derived from SERVQUAL, service quality, acronym of service quality, introduced by some researchers like Professor Parasuraman. But in case of e-service quality, this is also some of the research that were done by Professor Parasuraman's students and other associates. And here, as you can see, that this is like, you know, service provided through a website. There actually the dimensions of service quality are accessibility, navigation, how easy it is to move from page to page or around the website, design and presentation, the logical flow of design with respect to content and purpose. So, if you have a educational institution's website, then people are usually looking for admission information, people are looking for examination details, maybe their roll number, when the exams will be conducted. After exam, they may be wanting to know when the interviews will take place, then when the counseling and admission will take place. All those, if they are properly organized, that the information is easy to find, the website is easy to locate, it downloads quickly, then these are the qualities that give us customer satisfaction. So, as opposed to the TEARR in physical service, here we have this ANDCC, that is accessibility, navigation, design and presentation, content and purpose, and currency and accuracy. And the responsiveness issue kind of remains same between physical service quality and electronic service quality, and the responsiveness is often goes beyond what happens on the website. So, some responses you get automated responses from the website, but some responses actually will come later. Suppose you have lodged a complaint or you want some advice on the usage of an equipment. So, you have put your request on the helpline on the website, then you would expect that there will be a call, there will be an interactivity, and that will be customized for your purpose, and there will be what you want, that is what you will. There will be one level of response through the frequently asked questions and the answers provided, but your particular problem, if that cannot be solved by looking at the recorded canned FAQs, then you will need a personalized service, and that becomes again part of the eServ qual or ES qual, the electronic service quality dimensions. Now, we will look at some other considerations of service quality, and this is particularly true for this services which are high in credence characteristics. So, there, as I was just now talking about, that you will use tangible cues as proxies to evaluate quality. That is why in management consultancy, chartered accountancy organizations, there will be or legal counseling, there will be, the offices will have lot of leather bound books, lot of certificates on the wall, testimonials from other clients, or maybe other successful project stories in management consultancy. Sometimes top management consultants, in fact most of them, they have an electronic journal usually available free for download or available after just nominal registration from the website, where actually these are very valuable articles, very well written. Maybe otherwise you would have paid quite a bit of money to read it in a normal commercial academic journal, but these websites of management consultancy organizations like McKinsey or BCG, they provide quality stuff through their journals, and they do that because they are using tangible cues about their capability through these articles to assure you that the service that you are going to get from these top organizations will be real value for money. And also there is a lot of emphasis on customers' feelings, because more is the high is the credence factor, the customer actually is facing a higher level of uncertainty, because as we discussed, you can't assess the quality even immediately after the consumption of the service. So, a high in credence characteristics, you use proxies, tangible proxies, and you focus on customers' feelings to assure the customer that what they are getting is top quality. I have discussed this yesterday, but this is a little bit better diagram, the so called gaps. As you can see, the difference between customer needs and expectations and management, the company management's definition of those needs, if there is a gap, that is the knowledge gap. The gap between the management definition of those needs and translation into actual delivery, that will be standards gap. Then the gap between design delivery specs and actual execution of the design delivery specs, that is the delivery gap. The execution of the delivery specs and the gap with respect to customers' perception, that is the perceptions gap. And execution of the delivery specs and what you have actually, the kind of feeling that you have created with respect to, that is the internal communication gap. And what customer advertising and sales promises versus what customer interprets is the interpretation gap. So, this is actually where you might be talking about certain type of service level and the customer's interpretation of that service level, you might be using lot of hyperboles, your language may be such that the customer expects more than what you are in your mind promising. So, this is where therefore, in service promotion, because of its intangible nature, you have to be very careful when your advertising and sales promises, how they must be very clear, precise, not use lot of hyperboles or lot of fluffy words, because that can cause this interpretation mistake. This is often it happens. So, this number 5 perceptions gap and number 6 interpretation gap are kind of difficult gaps. One has to critically analyze the sales campaign, understand, quickly assess customer reaction and correct this interpretation gap if it exists. And ultimately, customers' needs and expectations, you remember yesterday I spent quite some time to explain that ultimately the understanding of service quality is dependent on customers' expectation versus customers' experience. So, that is the overall gap that one has to see. So, that is the service gap. So, these are the 7 gaps: knowledge gap, standards gap, delivery gap, internal communication gap. Remember, I was talking about that in services marketing, as opposed to normal company to customer external marketing, we need a very strong emphasis on internal marketing, that is between the company top management and the employees. There needs to be very regular planned sustained communication, so that this internal communication gap does not happen, because then what will happen is that advertising and sales promises versus what actually is delivered as service will create this gap. So, from here we will move to therefore some prescriptions that how these gaps can be managed. So, for managing the knowledge gap, understand customers' expectations, improve communication between frontline employees and management, turn information and insights into actionable prescriptions. So, this is the knowledge gap. Learn what the customers expect and see that is well understood by all the organization employees, particularly the frontline employees. So, this process we call sense what customers want, share widely within the organization and act, respond. Okay. Then standards gap. So, service quality standards that reflect the expectations, that is what you need. So, the kind of price level you are setting, where your hotel is located, where your restaurant is located, the positioning that you have created in the customer's mind through your sales promotion, etc. So, you have to understand that your communication should be set in such a way that it conforms to what that the level of service, the standards that you are actually going to deliver. So, set, communicate and reinforce customer oriented service standards for all work units, for all employees within the organization. This is where the standards gap, to manage that you must have good communication between the front line and the backstage, as we were talking about yesterday in service. And measure performance and provide regular feedback, reward the good performance and good employees. That actually concretizes the understanding of, because service is intangible to that extent. The standards are also not very well understood, but when you reward somebody for having done, like a customer had missed his flight and somebody went out of his way to find an alternative solution for that customer without affecting the revenue potential of the organization. When this is done well and that employee is rewarded, then that is a clear signal of what you mean by good standard of performance. Then delivery gaps. This is to ensure that the service performance meet the standards. Here again, role clarity of frontline employees is very, very important. In fact, in a call center or even in hotels and even in hospitals, the employees are coached using some set standard scripts, that if this is the situation, this will be your verbal response, this will be your action response. So, that actually clarifies the employee's role by using some scripts. So, this is quite well practiced in many services where there is wide public contact. And then you have to train employees in priority setting and time management. As you have seen in a busy hotel, the front desk, somebody is waiting to check out, somebody is waiting to check in, somebody is asking some question, some direction to a place, somebody wants information or tickets or something. So, there are multiple things happening. This multitasking will have to be managed by proper allocation of responsibilities and also cross training of people, because sometimes there may be lot of people waiting for checkout. Then you cannot have a person who is only specialized for checking in. Then you need to have this cross potential, so that one person can take up the other load if there is some jam at that point. So, train employees in priority setting, time management, and also I would say cross train people. In some other types of services like in hospitals, etc., you have to also be very careful to see that the role clarity assures that there will be no conflict among employees. And then here again we give emphasis on reward system. For internal communication gap, you have to ensure that the communication promises are reliable, seek comments from frontline employees and operations personnel about what is being advertised, because sometimes they will tell you sorry, this is too much, it cannot be managed. Maybe like if you say there will be 5 minutes check in or 3 minutes check out, and the frontline people say no, when there is a rush it is not possible. Or you say in our restaurant your order will be definitely processed, your food will be served in 20 minutes. Maybe your backstage people, your kitchen people will say no, that is not possible. If somebody orders some item which is not regularly not a very regular chalu item, then maybe it will take longer, it will take 45 minutes to cook and deliver. So, consult your frontline employees, consult your operations people, backstage employees, and so that what you are promising through your advertising sales campaign is realistic. So, this reality check with your own employees is very important. Get sales staff to involve operations staff in meeting the customer. Sometimes the operations staff may have their own comfort level, and the sales staff are normally trained to go the extra mile to meet the customer requirement, and the operations people never meet the customer. So, in organizations, service organizations, lot of benefits have come when the operations people participate in the interaction with customers. So, like for example, in hotel, people who learn hotel management, they are normally they have to go to all the departments and interact with all different circumstances. So, people who will become chefs, they are also trained to deal with customers directly, because this understanding is very important. Ultimately in service, everything is people to people. So, even if you are at the backstage, you have to know that I am serving a person. So, that personification in your of your understanding, employees understanding, becomes better when the operations people, backstage, front stage people are often working together. They deliberately, backstage people are brought to the front stage. And of course, ultimately, as I said, there has to be a reality check with your own people about what you are promising. Perception gap, here we were talking about that the after service perception of the customer, how it is compared with the pre-consumption expectation. So, here there is a lot of role of marketing to calibrate the customer expectation. It should not be too high to differentiate and to attract customers. If you over promise and under deliver, that will create this particular gap, perception gap. So, you have to, on the other hand, if you actually under promise, then maybe customers will not even come to your restaurant. So, you have to create a good balance, promise what you can deliver, possibly exceed every time, exceed the expectation, and there actually marketing plays a crucial role. And then of course, the feelings of customers as they walk into your restaurant, some physical evidences help in creating the right kind of expectation. And interpretation gap, we were talking about what customer feels and what you are actually talking about in your sales promotion are two different things. So, here actually obviously the good solution is test, test market your communication, check with pre-test your communication to make sure that your message is clear and unambiguous. And so, you can go to some trusted customers and check it out. And of course, if you are able to meet this service gaps of 1 to 6, then you will meet the gap, ultimate gap of service. Now, let me also quickly talk about, maybe take couple of minutes to talk about some soft and hard measures of service quality. So, soft measures are not easily observed, must be collected by talking to customers, by talking to employees, others, taking photographs, doing some focus group exercises with a mix of customers and employees. These are very important because the feelings we are dealing, as you know, empathy, feelings, all these are little imperceptible, and for that, therefore, doing some questionnaire survey to collect data is not enough. You have to observe, 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 and that is why to provide good set of qualitative data, you need to employ capture the employee customer interaction. That is why you will see often when you call a call center of a bank or something, they tell you that we might record this conversation for quality purpose. That is actually, you provide direction, guidance and feedback to employees by recording certain interactions and then going over that interaction and trying to understand that where it went well, where it went wrong, etc. So, surveys, the ServQual type of measures, customer advisory panels are good for the soft measures, but also very, very important is this ethnographic observation and then interpretation of the collected data jointly with the employees, and sometimes you can involve some your so called trusted customers, your co-marketers, people who really will vouch for you, and you bring them in and have joint sessions with employees to understand this soft part of the service quality. The hard part is actually in a way is easier because if you can actually have good data collection system, count, time, measure through audits, then you can actually get very valuable insight by using statistical techniques like control charts. So, for example, soft measures, or let me add that you use lot of these service feedback cards which are actually derived out of those gaps. So, you ask questions. So, airlines, restaurants, hotels give even incentive to get this good feedback, to get proper feedback from customers. In fact, a customer is unhappy, it is even more important to get some written complaint from that customer, because that will give you a better understanding of what exactly went wrong. In retail marketing, for example, is a kind of service we use mystery shopper. That means a person unknown to the employees will arrive unannounced and will go through and become therefore a surrogate customer, a proxy for a customer to give detailed feedback. That person is trained to observe that how the employee interactions are creating dissonance. And I think I have some charts here besides these surveys, online surveys, employee surveys, using customer advisory panels, etc. Let me now spend a little bit more time on hard measures and conclude this session. So, this is, as I was saying, statistical technique like control charts and setting up some service quality indices. For example, this is taken from FedEx, one of the major logistics and courier companies in the world. So, you see here they have actually taken various failure types: late delivery, right day, wrong day, late delivery, missing proofs of delivery or missed pickup, lost package, and then they have given weight the importance factor. So, as you see, missed pickup or lost package or damaged package, these are high weight factors, whereas late delivery on the right day is a factor of 1. It is a failure, but not that important. But late delivery on a wrong day, that has a weightage of 5. That is or complaints, missing proof of delivery is 1, but complaints reopened is 5. So, by taking this and then the number of incidents that are happening in each category, then you can the product of this weight factor and the number of incidents you add up, then you can get this what we call the total failure points, SQI. So, this is called the service quality index. So, you can use this kind of measurements in that sort of a service. This is another one which is a control chart for departure delays at an airport. So, flights departing within 15 minutes of schedule. So, this is what is desired. So, as you see in October, here we have months and here we have the incidence level. So, you can see here that we had a bad period in March, or we had a bad period, we had a deterioration in August, and then again we improved, but again we had a deterioration in November. So, and further deterioration in December. January was really bad, only 60% flights departed. Now, once we observe this, then we know that, and then we investigate those months. To investigate those months, this is the fishbone diagram or cause effect diagram that we discussed yesterday. So, that has been applied to aircraft flight delay. So, you arrive at whether it is due to facilities and equipment, whether it is due to materials and supplies, whether it is due to backstage personnel, front stage personnel, procedures, information. Each case is, these are all related to the aircraft airport operation. So, in facilities, equipment, aircraft late to arrival at the gate, or mechanical failure, or late pushback, all these are causes that ultimately cause delayed departure. So, if you then take these months where we had bad period, like in January or in December or in November, possibly due to winter and snow or fog, these are the months where we had bad. So, we can investigate, and we may find that it is due to weather that actually had a major impact on the delayed departure. Maybe due to lack of proper equipment which will allow us to operate even during fog time, it happened. So, we can then do blueprinting. Using this, then we can actually take also the entire flow and do this analysis and come up with some data based hard analysis of service level, or where service is failing, or how service can be improved. So, this kind of concludes our discussions on service quality, service productivity, and what marketers need to know with respect to service quality and productivity to enhance customer satisfaction, to get better loyalty, repeat business, and so on. And in the coming sessions, we have couple of sessions left. We will try to go over the entire course and give you an overview or sort of a wrap up of the whole course. So, see you again tomorrow for those concluding sessions. Yesterday and today we discussed several topics for services marketing. They are all related, but there are a number of topics that we have covered with respect to service quality, service productivity, creating service repeat business, employees behavior which will affect consumer behavior in service setting. Now, this book that I had referred, our book, I am one of the co-authors of this book, Services Marketing, published by Pearson India, written jointly by Professor Lovelock, Professor Witz and myself. Please refer to chapter number 9 to 14 of this book for getting a detailed understanding of the various things that we have discussed. It is very clearly explained in this book. So, chapter 9 relates to balancing demand and capacity, and then chapter 10 relates to crafting the service environment, or chapter 14 is about this service quality and productivity. So, maybe I would say the most important things that you can, most of the things that we have talked about yesterday and today are covered in chapter 8, 9, 11 and 14, 8, 9, 11 and 14 in this book. So, that is for more detailed understanding, or as I mentioned, you can always go to the course that I had delivered on NPTEL on services management, a full course. You can refer to that course also for detailed understanding of what we discussed yesterday and today, because here it's we had to condense because of the lack of time. So, for more explanation you can use these references. Thank you.